there's only 45 years of them. I'm trying to think of, I just typed up one this week, and it's not. I don't know if it's that funny, but it was I was at the boardwalk, and I was the safety training department for 16 only years there was under HR, and we had a female HR director, VP, and she was really. I'm not going to say her name, so I can say the quality. She was not the greatest leader. She would interrupt you in the middle of a conversation. She would leave in the middle of a conversation. If you're talking to her in your office and she was done, she'd leave. You'd be mid-sentence about answering her question, and she'd up and leave. So what we used to do is every Friday we had a HR staff meeting when all the departments would say what they did last week and what we're going to do this week and what we're working on, blah, 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 and at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so we would, as managers of heads of departments, would bring in donuts or bagels for it was management mainly, but there was a few people that were hourly that were in that meeting. They'd come and go, so we'd bring in food for them, and I always I always kept food for my staff in my drawer or whatever. I always felt that the staff's going to be happier if they've got some munchies. So I would bring in donuts. Usually it was easy for me to bring in donuts because I came down Ocean Avenue from Highway 17. There's a donut shop right there. If there was no line and it wasn't busy, I'd swing in, buy a dozen and a half donuts or 2 dozen donuts. So one morning I come in and I get there early and we're gonna have our staff meeting on Friday, and I bought 2 dozen donuts and I get them assorted and I put them in the conference room where we have our meeting, put some extra napkins out, and then go back to my office. It was about another 45 minutes before the staff meeting comes in. My female boss, VP, comes in and she brings in a box of bagels. Happened to bring in a box of bagels that day. So she brings in the bagels and we have the meeting and everybody's eating the donuts. Nobody's eating the bagels, maybe 1 or 2 people, but by and large the donuts got wiped out. And so after the meeting's over, she says to me, "Can you stay for a minute?" I said, "Yeah." So everybody kind of leaves. But the doors, we had 2 doors to the conference room. Both doors were open and it was a confined space. It was 3 trailers put together to make one big HR building. And so everybody could hear. The walls were paper thin. And so I wait, and she says, after the last person's leaving the room, so she starts talking, and she says, "Don't you ever do that again." And I said, "I'm sorry, I beg your pardon." She says, "Don't you ever do that again?" I said, I'm not tracking with you. What's your question?" She says, "Don't you ever bring in donuts on a day that I'm bringing in bagels?" And I said, how am I supposed to know what day you're bringing in bagels, and what difference does it make? To have a choice, they would be, the employees would be twice as happy, I would think. They got a choice between bagels and donuts. "Don't you ever do that again. That shows me up." And then she turned around and walked away. And I'm going, what was all that about? So the office manager, female office manager, overheard it, and we didn't say anything that day. She kind of raised her eyebrows as I walked back to my desk. After the end of the day, the boss left early, and she and I were in the room alone, and she says, "What was that about?" I said, I don't know, but I need you to share with the people that I'm no longer going to bring in any food rather than trying to outguess when she wants food, doesn't want food. I'm not bringing in any more food. I'll keep my candy jar stocked in my office if they want candy, but I'm not bringing any more food into the conference room for meetings. I don't want to go through that again. Talk about, poor management. But anyway, I don't know how funny that story is, but it was,
Mind bending.
yeah,
People
mind bend. Yeah, people do some weird stuff.